in the afternoon. Yeah. 1 p.m.
Yeah.
on a rainy Wednesday. So we're in the future.
That's right.
Yeah. Coming to you live from the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that every day with Morgan because I notice like little things happen
Mm.
to her, and then the next day it'll happen to me.
Do you find that you're now operating more on Australian time zone than over there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely am. Because I go to bed. I go to bed. Well, I'll say I wake up, and it's at least 4 in the morning over there. So sometime between 4 and 5 in the morning, I wake up Australia time, and I go to bed about 10 o'clock maybe.
Yeah, right.
10 o'clock. Yeah. That's just happened ever since she went back.
It's interesting, isn't it? Connection thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something about that. There's been a lot of reversals, or and I think it's just like a small micro of the whole thing. Like certain things I do, she's doing, and certain things she does, I'm doing. Things like that. Weird things. But everything's weird.
Which, when you look at the way things are happening collectively, given your connection with her, it would have to be happening at the deepest of levels, right? Because the synchronicity in when you messaged me a week or so ago, so what happened was I was heading to work, and I always like to listen to something, and I don't listen to the radio, so I just went into YouTube, first video, boom, listening to the conversation you had with, I think it was Ananta last week.
Yeah.
And I'm just driving along, and I'm getting close to the job, and I just thought, oh, you know what? I was listening to the context of the conversation. I can't even remember what it was, and I thought, oh, I feel like there's a conversation to have, and I almost subconsciously put it out there, very casually, completely let go of it, that there was a conversation to be had. And then I literally pull up, and there's a message there, and it's not, we don't message each other every day. It's
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments where I normally just laugh. It's like a joyful laugh, because you just go like any of the doubts that I might have had in the past and things like that. It's just those things that keep blowing it out of the water.
Yeah. That happened twice that day.
Oh, wow.
That happened twice a day. It happened with a lady, and I can't remember who it was, but the same thing happened, like within an hour of it happening with you.
Yep. And it's intensifying. I was thinking at the time too, like, because I get there's all sorts of synchronicities in even the way, because I do, so back in the day, I was a big talkback listener. I seem to like the chatter. Now, because I don't follow any of that, I tend to flick on Soulogy is now you're my new shock jock. And so so listening to all that, I'm sitting there thinking, like what happens all the time is there's little synchronicities in the guests that you have, not just the content, but I might have had an interaction with someone, or for some weird reason, a post of theirs popped up, and I've somehow connected with them, and then the next minute they've shown up here. And I'm just thinking about all the synchronicities that the people that are watching other than me are having at the same time, and just how intensified it's becoming.
Yeah, I agree. I've always seen it out there, but it's really picked up. Like really, like we talked about before. It's like you turn a page. You go from one room to another room, and everything just fits. Even if they look unrelated, they fit. Yeah. Alicia and I were just talking about all these things, and she's here. I love her. She's just so cool.
Yeah. We should just talk about Alicia. That's what we should do. She'd hate me saying that.
That takes us forever. Uh, well, there's so many things, and I didn't know if I could really discuss this, but Morgan made a comment on the last show, and this is only speaking to the level of what you're talking about. There's just one example with two people, and we've documented or spoken about our light body experiences. But so last week, or 3 or 4 days ago, I got off a show. I think it was Friday. I got off a show, and I thought I gotta lay down, right? And so I went to lay down, and I just said to myself, I'm going to integrate my divine feminine. Like I wouldn't say something like that.
Mm.
It just came out of my mouth, and I had this whole feeling about me. And so I laid on the couch and I took that in, and that turned into me with her. Right now, my hands are just to myself. I'm not doing any type of stimulation, nothing, just laying there as if you would connect. And so I start going through this whole experience, which technically would be in my head, right? I mean, to the detail, to every sensation. I'm having orgasms on my leg. Things I had experienced with Morgan, right? So 45 minutes go by, and she sends me a note. Can you uh, fix something on my calendar? And I said, yes, I can, as soon as I'm finished, or not till I'm finished integrating my divine feminine. Now, that's all I said, thinking that this was my own little experience. She says, this is all messages. She says, I know. I said, what do you mean, you know? She says, this is what's been happening. I mean, I'm talking like in specific detail,
Yeah.
like out of an erotic forum, right?
Wow.
Like tasteful, obviously, but I mean, specific detail. And she's telling me this, this, and this. And I said, I know. And then it just went on. And so once we've realized she was feeling everything I was doing, then it went on again. Now we're messaging sporadically. Nothing's being said about I'm doing this, and so there was this whole light body experience that the humans were involved in to a depth we hadn't even been to.
Mm.
And then there was either the night before that, or the morning before that, waking up, it was the night before that, or that night. 3 times as I'm going to sleep, my body left, and I was conscious of it. Like I threw something.
Mm.
I opened my eyes, knowing I'd see my arm extended, and it wasn't. But I could feel the energy leaving. I could feel whatever I threw leaving. And then the same thing happened with the entire body. So something's going on.
Mm.
Like, Alicia and I were talking about, what the hell is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And everybody's experience is different, but it could be these, you had a thought. Did you create the thought, or did it just appear? Like, I don't know how that works. And then I'm messaging you, which I don't message. Like 95% of the people that I've messaged have been people that asked to come on the show. 5% in this period of time have been people that have been on that I wanted to bring back on, that I intended to ask, and you were one of them. And so there might have been 3, right? And so the chances of me sending you that message in that moment, I mean, by conventional standards, would be 1 in a billion.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
So then the question becomes, how far can that get pushed? And that's what I start to think, because I start analyzing how that happened, because I mean, I feel to a degree that's how we're headed, because it's manifestation. It's, and I mean, how can that translate into, say, abundance, and not necessarily from an egotistical, greedy standpoint, but just, manifesting our best lives so we can have our best impact and things like that, because that's something in my field at the moment.
Yeah, me too.
Mm.
But my question is, are we feeling the alignment? Are we realizing the alignment? Or in other words, if we're just kind of coming into the fold, do we have to do anything?
It's
Or
true.
are we looking, are we seeing what the potential or the trajectory of the potential is, and do we need to do something?
Mm.
Like, I don't know, I mean, I use the example of Morgan and I because it's easy to
Yeah.
understand. So I go to bed at night used to think, okay, I need to do this, and then we can try this, but now it's just actually aligning with the frequency of being together.
Mm.
It doesn't make any sense. It's been going on for about a week, and
Yeah.
you know,
Is that the trap? Right then when you say that, I think, is that the trap that I automatically go, okay, how can I play with this? How can I consciously do it? When, like I said to you to start off with, it was almost like what I was doing, it was subconscious. It wasn't me. The intention went out without really seriously contemplating it. The only conscious thought that I had was, oh, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
mm.
And then letting go of it completely and forgetting about it. Like, it just wasn't a thing until I flicked my phone on before I went in to do the job. And I'm like, oh, there you go.
So I don't know. Is it that like it feels like there's something happening, and I'll just use the image of we're up here,
Mm.
like whether it be you and me, or in the other case of me and Morgan. So we're up here, and we said, let's have a conversation. And are we picking up on that? Because there definitely seems to be a merging of the let's say the light body and the physical body. So are we? That's where I'm at. I'm like, are
Mm.
we? Do I need to do anything other than consciously align with what I desire?
Mm.
So I guess you could say, like in the case of you and I I was doing my thing and thinking, oh, I forgot to ask Nick. I want Nick to do a show, see if he'll do a show. So that was me consciously aligning with my desire, whatever, and then boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. So it's, I mean, my feeling is that it's something along those lines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess as we just continue to let go, and these things will just become normal. Even in terms of how we operate in the physical world.
Yeah.
Like I say, because I do automatically think, particularly given the situation now, and I don't I don't sound like I'm, going to it all the time, but that abundance equation, because much of our community does seem to be still really trying, really needing to generate that.
Mhm.
And I think it's important. I think it's an important part of the equation, in mastering and understanding things better.
I agree.
Mm.
I agree. I just don't know we were just talking about that. Like,
Oh, really? Was this with Alicia?
yeah, I was
Yeah,
just saying
I only
for
caught the
me,
last bit.
it's like Soulogy, like I walk, I'm here. There's a part of me that says, shouldn't you be doing something? These
Mm.
are the things that were shown to you. Go out and build this network as you understand it. And then there's another part going, no, just go do
Mm.
a show. Like it's really a little bit frustrating, but I don't know how to explain it. It's like I feel like it's not completed yet. There's nothing I can achieve that will complete me. I mean,
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's already, you know what I mean? So it's this really weird space. And I'm with you. Like, how do you? Because what's the difference between resources, money, capital goods, whatever, in terms of abundance versus I want to be in an airport seeing Morgan and coming together once and for all. Like, that's all abundance to me. So there's like this weird thing about not holding it too tight, but not holding it too loose. Like,
Yeah.
and it's really,
Yeah.
it's good to talk about it though, because you know, I don't know, and I gather you don't know, but I feel a lot better talking about it
Yeah.
than tuning in to, nothing against anybody, but tuning into a platform or a conversation where they're talking about chakras and they're talking about galactic communication or some prophecy, or this is where it's at for me,
Mm.
and I have no fucking idea what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Um. I mean, so I feel like I should share this, right? So, like you talk about Soulogy and things like that, and what you're doing,
Yeah.
and like tying that into the abundance thing. So, over the last few weeks, I've been contemplating how the podcast I do and the stuff I've been doing for the last year came about and where it came from. So I'm starting to try and tune into everything I do from the heart and understand where the ego comes into it. So 12 months ago, I'm looking at Todd Medina on Soulogy and I'm going, I like what he's doing. But where I'd make a mistake is I'd go, I want to go do that. And that's the ego, right? Because I love what you're doing. I love what's going on here. I love the community. And I think often the masculine can go, well, I'll go and do that because I want to go and create the same thing. Whereas lately I've sort of been going, well, wouldn't it be better? And this is where the shift starts to occur. If I found ways to still do my own thing, but support what's going on here. So even if it's in terms of I've got the money right now, donating, things like that, and just amplifying, because I'm adamant, from sort of diving further into myself, that was all ego, me wanting to create my thing, but in a way that just fragments attention and means that someone like Todd, rather than getting the support that can be amplified through me, we're fragmenting that support. And if we can put it in concentrated areas such as this and get behind these causes, because this is a cause, this is a community, this isn't a podcast, it's not a business, it's nothing like that. It's more like a cause. And if we can all get behind it rather than trying to just egotistically pursue our own version, then our impact can be so much greater.
God, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That was everything about what you said was, and it's not even that, it's the frequency of what you said. See, my first thing, of course, is his ego would be, dude, you're like very good at what I've seen. And of course, doing shows with you, which is the same thing. But I mean, like watching you, I'm like, he's really, really good. He's really net. But you've actually gone in, which is all that matters, and made your own. Because the truth is, you might have been, 80% inspiration from your soul and 20% ego then.
That's right.
But because of all of our elevations and higher perspective, now you go, oh well, wait a minute, this is where it stands now. Like, but what you said, whether it's in regard to this or anything else, like if you just make that a general template, that's a profound template because
Mm,
because there is, we're developing a space, all of us, where there is no ego, there is no
mm,
credit. You know, and that you're saying this is doesn't surprise me
mm,
because my connection with you, though on the linear timeline it's not as long, it's very much like with Alicia.
mm,
Like there's just this symmetry. And so I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking, why in the last 3 or 4 days am I thinking about A, B, and C? And you're
mm,
sitting here laying it all out for me now. And just as a quick example, I'm having these conversations like at the depth that you just explained that you had with yourself. And I'm going, you know, I'm not Soulogy. And I never thought I was. But it came in like I'm not Soulogy, like
mm,
more like update. And I went, okay, so now what do I do? Well, you're a certain cog and there's many other ones, and then you just find or refine or whatever that is, and the rest it's I don't know, it's something along the lines of what you're talking about, where I guess like a beehive,
mm,
everybody has their role.
mm,
I remember I grew up with a guy and played football with him, and he was a he was a left tackle. And I remember one night we were drinking a few beers, and he says to me, Medina, I can't do anything on a football field except play left tackle. That's the only thing I can do. And he
mm.
was right about, you know,
Yeah.
the application of that and the reality of it.
Mm. My experience like goes to that. So back when I was younger, I played rugby league, the sport out here, and I remember playing park football. I was okay, but I got the opportunity to go on trial with the like what would be the top tier teams over here.
Mm.
And the minute I got with those better players, I was like a superstar. I was unbelievable. I
Wow.
could do things that I couldn't do in a normal game, but it was all those components. You had these people excelling in their various roles, and me simply chiming in to do my bit. So it's a good metaphor for life in general, I guess.
Yeah. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So I don't even you get out and mix with a lot of people in your business, right?
Well, yeah,
And
I used to up until I became a hermit about 4 months ago.
really?
But yeah, but like I got a pretty broad circle. Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, your business takes you out though, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I work in the flooring
But
industry. So
oh, you did, yeah. I
yeah.
was in home improvement for 35 years, so
Hey,
inside and out, yeah.
all
So,
right.
uh, so 4 months ago, you were telling me about this.
Well,
How
because
do
we
you
had the whole lockdown thing, and I just found it that I needed to withdraw from because I can't comply,
Yeah,
and I'm very social.
yeah,
I used to be out all the time, and this was just my time to cocoon, and I just sort of haven't gone back out
yeah.
as yet. But life in general, I mean, I've always been a social butterfly in terms of who was talking? Oh, it was a meeting this morning. Someone was talking about how I have that ability that people will open up to me. So I'd have a lot of in-depth conversations and stuff with people. So I like if I asked you how you are, I don't mean how are you as in a passing comment.
Yeah.
I want to know how you are, like really how you are. And I just connect with a lot of people in various circles, like so many that aren't in our circles either, that probably think I'm a little nuts, which I am.
No, it sounds like the characteristics of a 5D healer, you know?
Yeah,
That
without
but
knowing.
that's what I was getting at though, was like in your interactions with other people, like, out in the world or whatever, are you picking up anything from them? I mean, I would
Um,
imagine that in Australia, where you're having all this catalytic pressure,
mm,
that even those who you would think never think about things are thinking about things.
Yeah.
I just wonder.
Yeah. So the kids have gone back to school here.
Mm,
And despite the rules, we're still moving about. Like I went to work the other day, and technically I was breaking. I mean, they're not really laws, but I was breaking the rules, and could get fined and all that sort of stuff. But I'm finding that most people, though they're following the rules, they don't believe it. They might get the procedures and they might be doing all the stuff they're supposed to, doing the right thing, but underneath that surface layer, they don't have enough fear to not shake your hand. I've gone to a couple of parties lately because the kids have started at school, and what most of the parents will do is go and have a party at the local park, so we can all go down there, and there's none of the issues that come with it. And without outwardly saying it, there's actually a really positive energy from everyone. And I feel like if you, here in Australia, if you go on social media and you go on the mainstream media, I don't believe the narrative that's getting painted on either platform is reflective of the average person in the street. And they are beginning to think differently and question things. Like, a few of the parents are starting to know the stuff that I do, what I'm doing outside, that most people don't even know, with podcasting and having conversations with you. And they're amazingly open to it.
wow.
Yeah. So we're talking, soccer mums and, the dads, and that they're just doing the day-to-day thing, fitting in, doing all the stuff they're supposed to do, and they're open.
Wow. And that's what you said too. Like, the mainstream media obviously doesn't reflect, let's just say, the average person. But I never thought about this, but the social media news feed or platforms don't either.
No.
Which is really interesting, because you do see a lot of people grab onto information. I guess we've all done it. You grab on, did you know this happened? Did you know that happened? Like it's the gospel.
Yeah.
But then this other observation too, which has come into my field, just again, we're connected, is of everything that I watch, and I don't watch like the whole episodes and stuff, but I watch different things. The one thing that resonates the most is a conversation between two people that's at minimum an hour, preferably 2 or 3 hours. Like, there's something about that energy and that occurrence that, I don't know, I feel like it's becoming very relevant. You could look at Joe Rogan, obviously. You could look at, but I was watching Pete Evans with a guy the other day. I had Pete out on the show. I don't know him. I didn't know him before, and I still don't know him. But I sat and watched this conversation that went almost 2 hours.
Yeah, wow.
And it was just like watching one of these. I mean, it was not just what they were saying; it was the energy coming out of them, and the frequency, and the truth, and the love, and all that. Like, I don't know. There's something about that long play of presentation versus watching a movie, and it has a plot or some kind of propaganda or bullshit. Maybe
That's very interesting too, because Pete Evans comes from the TV background. He was in mainstream television, so he knows all the ins and outs, and it'd be very easy for him to produce some sort of manufactured, on point piece of content. But instead, because he'd be aware and be able to read what works and things like that from his TV background, and he's making that sort of content. So I guess that speaks volumes that someone like him with that direct experience is doing that.
Yeah. Well, this one, he was on a guy's show.
Oh, okay.
And no, I've seen his other stuff too. I mean, you're right.
Mm.
Now this was a little bit different because I guess he wasn't on that side. He was on the guest side. But the interesting thing was, like, okay, so in that car, now the other guy was a guy named, I think, Jason Miles, or
Okay.
and he's been displaced somewhere that he was living, and I think he went back to New South Wales. I don't know, but he was running for
Yeah.
office. But
Okay.
that one of the things that impressed me about, and I think this goes to what you're saying, is they were not, even though they were activists, let's just say, and they're speaking their mind and they're doing something, they were very neutral.
Mm.
They were not damning the hell out of, they were pointing stuff out, but they were very much containing a neutrality. And I thought that was pretty impressive, considering, because I knew that about him. And how do you go into that environment and not be, for lack of a better word, tainted? It's kind of like we get raised by our parents. We think we're nothing like them. We get a little bit of, hindsight, and we realize we're just exactly like them, right? Like all their patterns are in us, right? So, but yeah.
Especially given how much attention he pays to it all. Because I don't feel, I mean, I can be far more neutral. And I know that's an area I probably should work on, because I might not necessarily show it outwardly, but inwardly, like if I'm consuming a lot of stuff, I feel it. Straight, it does not take much at all. It's a matter of a little piece of breaking news, flick on a website, and boom, there you are. And I'm back in there, sort of. But Pete seems to be able to pay that attention to it, and like you say, remain neutral. And I guess that's the dream. That's where we all need to get. There's a couple of guys like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it last night because I was watching a pretty interesting, very interesting. 5 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to go to the restroom. Morgan sent me a note. Queensland's now got these restrictions.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're kidding. So I thought, so something went, oh, go look at this place that you go look. And there was this guy who is a politician, and he had government data from the 21st of October, which was the latest they had. It was medical data. And he's talking 540 cases in October through the 21st of those 2 heart conditions that a lot of young people are getting from the vaccine.
Yep.
And I started going in, and I'm thinking, I'm not like going to kill anybody, but I'm going, damn, like justice, and like all those things. And then I thought, wait a minute, what are you doing? You're going to go to bed. You're going to go back to sleep and get the gist of your sleep, the next few hours. This is going to be the last thing that's in your head. I don't think we want to do that. And I turned it off, and then I just kind of did whatever I do, thought of Morgan, and then went to sleep. Yeah, you're right. But I do think we're getting help there, because like what I just described to you was not like, oh, you better not, Todd. It wasn't like that. It was just like information, contemplation, choice. I'm done, kind of thing. And I could be back there tonight.
Yeah. That's how you develop. Like it's like a muscle, right? And I've told you before. Last September, I was at rallies getting arrested, and then here I am. I haven't gone to a rally in months because I haven't felt it. I feel like I'm in a space where coming up in the next couple of weeks, I might attend one, because I feel like I'm energetically bringing what needs to be brought to that. But that's the leap I made. But it was a process of dipping in, dipping out. becoming consumed in it, and then realizing, oh, there I go again. And even now, like, you look at algorithms, the way the algorithm pulls you in. I can't remember who I was talking to someone recently the last couple of days about it, and if you look at it, like okay, perfect example. On one of the news sites yesterday, it had an article about how one particular country, I think it was Denmark, had been extraordinarily successful without lockdowns. And they were sort of saying how, they're all fine now, stuff like that. I had a look this morning, and the article now is reporting that they're going into lockdowns because they've had a surge of cases. And I'm seeing this all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing that it plays both sides of the fence. They'll change the headline just to try and get you to, so they know they're going to get the people that are scared of this, and they're going to get the people that are scared of that. And neither's really the situation. I mean, you've only got to look at border rules here. I know so many people that have been crossing borders that apparently are impenetrable, and they've just been driving across them.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That occurrence with the post or the articles, I've seen that numerous times. I've not heard anybody articulate it, but I've looked at it and gone, what the hell is that? Because I read this yesterday, and it could be about many different things. It's not just about COVID quarantines and all that, vaccines. It could be about anything. And I'm looking at it going, what in the hell? Now, some of them are obvious, like over here, very anti-Trump. But then you'll see an article that you read the day before that's the other side of it. Same newspaper, same everything. And I'm like, what is that? So I realize, that it's not the topics, it's the division. All that's the whole purpose is to put any of us on one side of the neutral zone or not. I mean, one or the other, because that's all that matters. If we have a charge, it doesn't matter what side of the issue we're on. We're basically chattel. We're food. We're enslaved, whatever you want to call it. But what you said about going back in, and what Alicia just said, was what I was thinking. So she went last weekend with the intention to bring a higher energy into the space. And she was white for 2 days. Yeah. I have a feeling that what you just said and what she did, what you said you're feeling, I have a feeling that that type of energy is going to hit these types of demonstrations or gatherings, so that if and when there's resistance or oppression or force, that energy is going to neutralize that, like to the point where, like, those who might be doing it go, what am I doing? I wanna, you know what I mean? I mean, that's the way because if you're thinking it and she did it last weekend, how many others are there, whether they're conscious of it or not?
Yep. Absolutely. This is funny too. This reminds me of, would have been late last year, and I really wasn't in that space to really take it in. I had a random message from someone I don't know, and they were looking to get from Perth to Melbourne, where everything was happening while it was happening, like intense stuff. And she started talking about how she wanted to go to the protests. She was a light worker of some sort, and she had this something to do with energy that she wanted to do. It was how she wanted to bring it there. And I can't remember the exact word she used, but I remember at the time being in that space where I'm like, no, we need force. We got to, drag him out of Parliament and things like that. And just in that moment while we're talking, I just remembered her. And I don't know if I'd even be able to find her. It was just completely random. And she had it. She had it at that point.
Well,
And I miss it.
the whole, I mean, force thing, it's in our DNA, especially
Mm,
in my opinion, anyway. If you're incarnated in a masculine, a male
mm,
body,
mm,
like that's the first order of the day,
mm,
you know. Uh, I mean, but it's just it's not going to work. It's like I get a kick. I mean, I saw another 3 4 days ago. Q's here. Trump's taking over the government. They're
mm,
Air Force One's in the air, and the Galactics are helping us, and they're all at Guantanamo Bay, and they're going to be hanged. And I'm going, that's not going to work, even if it
mm,
were true, which obviously it's not, because that's just a continuation of that whole good and bad and all that. There's something bigger at work here. So
mm,
when that lady, somehow or another randomly was presented to you, your feelings of I've went in, I've come back, I'm feeling I'm going back in, it'll be different. Alicia
mm,
goes out last week. I mean, uh, I don't see how there's going to be this uprising of that type of, you know, let's take down everybody and cut their arms and legs off and build a bonfire in the town square. Because back to your point about the algorithms, and if you look at the demonstrations that we've had here, and really anything over here, both sides are being controlled by the same people. We've
mm.
got many demonstrations over here where you got guys in black outfits. I saw one the other day in Philly where the guy was a cop in plain clothes, throwing,
Ah,
causing,
yeah.
so you have those agent provocateurs, right? So, so I think this is part of where the gig is up. The
Mm,
gig is it's not the left, it's not the right, or it's not this or that. It's all of us in the middle, and I think that's a great point that you made. They're not represented by mainstream media. They're also not represented by social media,
mm.
which is us, all of
Yep.
us, right? Our news
Yep.
feeds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But then there's the aspect too that I still do debate within myself whether we need to rally because all the signs are there. Is this whole thing, where more and more people wake up? It's like an implosion is happening. So from within, because if you look at, like, if you observe what's happening, you can almost see self sabotage. This
Hmm.
is within government, within media, things like that. Like it's almost like they're they're you sometimes look at it and you think, if you were actually trying to win, why would you do that?
Right.
You wouldn't do that thing.
No, it's a good
So
point.
that goes to the question of, I sort of debate whether the rallies are even necessary.
I mean, energetically speaking, but I guess I yeah, I mean, I would think so. You know,
Mm,
I mean, I would think if you want to ride a bike, you got to get on the bike and ride it, right? But I
mm,
mean, but I think what's different is, first of all, just the fact that an individual would even contemplate that
mm,
rather than react and just go, let's go kill them. And then secondly, the whole thing about like that lady you pulled up, your thoughts are going back in, and Alicia going back in last weekend. That type of thought. I'm going to consciously engage this. I know that energetic, that energy is out there of, let's just say, oppression or whatever. But I'm going to consciously enter this now with this frame of mind.
mm,
Uh, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not the same. And look, we're also getting to a place where, because this is an evolution,
mm,
just because it's not, you know, uh, the ones we've been, taught or whatever, like the slow physical change or whatever the case is, it's an evolution that's happening very quickly. So there's a lot to be said for it's all right here. If I want to go to, I saw Queensland, what is it, Queensland, New South Wales border. I think it was last weekend. There had to be 10,000 people. I'm like, now was that in my opinion? Yeah, that was necessary. You know why? Because it made me go up. It made me go, oh, we are on this thing, regardless of what the result was. Doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that I can go there. Look, if I can go halfway across the world and have a physical encounter with my wife, like, okay, wait a minute. So I can go there energetically. I can experience. I can create. I can march side by side with you. So that part of the stuff is coming in too. So maybe some of this stuff just goes away as we evolve. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, the vibe that you talk about, that Queensland one, the energy that came from that was incredible. Like you could feel it just looking at a picture.
That's all I did was look at a picture.
Yeah.
I didn't see a video.
Yeah.
It literally looked like a sea of souls.
Yeah.
Because I was looking for the end of it, right? I was looking for the end of the line, and there was no end. And I was already looking at what had to be. It had to be, I'm going to say, at least 3,000 people.
Oh,
just
yeah.
what I could see.
Yeah.
You know, because then it became a blur, which were obviously people.
Yeah.
That one and the one I saw with the lady in Adelaide, the nurses in Adelaide, good God, that was just like, man, all I could do was just, my jaw dropped. Because she didn't just talk for like 2 minutes. She talked for like 15 minutes. And she ripped him a new asshole. I mean, she wasn't being mean. She was just going, hey, enough is enough. And all I could do is just, my jaw dropped. I'm like, oh my God, this feminine thing is like really starting to get some traction.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Yeah, and the courage in that, particularly being a medical professional at the moment, the courage to speak like that should not be lost on anyone. Because you get vilified, you get dragged through the coals now.
I know. But you know, if one station or one fairly good-sized platform, like say someone like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has what, millions in his and I'm not saying he does this. I'm just saying, let's just say you have a platform that has that type of foundation, right? And you just went and played these videos, or the picture of the march. This person saying there was 25,000 people there. I think I saw a poster or a comment earlier, they were there. But imagine how little time it would take, considering the way that things are presented to us with repetitivity and the playing both sides thing, and the impact that it has. But think about that. Think about how quick it would go. Yeah, I think what you said is my biggest takeaway of all three shows today, is that the mainstream and the social media, neither one actually represent the 99%. I'm going to call that the 99%.
Yeah. You know what? They really don't. And see, like, I'm sort of moving on the fly here, but the amount of places where you'll go and the comment section counter narrative. So you can get like a sample size of the population. So our local paper today had some article on something related to the agenda, and it was filled with comments basically agreeing with what we might think, which they wouldn't want you to think that that's the case. They'd want you to think that that's a vocal minority, but this is happening time and time again.
Yeah.
And I mean, even today, like about 2 hours ago, I got a message from a cousin of mine who I haven't seen in probably close to 20 years. And she messaged me out of the blue and said, I just got to say how proud of you I am because you're talking about this stuff. And I had no idea. Like I think the other week she liked one post, but I have a feeling she's one of those people that just sees it, has to be careful, doesn't want to rock the boat. And I got the feeling from her that a lot of my uncles and my other cousins that I haven't seen are on board with it all, and she's almost isolated.
Yeah.
And she just sent this really lovely message, and we had a bit of an exchange, and I could sort of also reassure her from my perspective that most of my family haven't done it and aren't buying into everything, so she can see that there's more than just her
Yeah.
small circle. So these are the things that are happening under the, and even I've got in-laws that that did everything. They thought they were doing the right thing. They've done it. They're not feeling great from it, and they're now, I will not get a booster. So there is that
Yeah,
undercurrent.
that's a really big deal, that
Mm,
the impression being given about the degree of participation
mm,
is nowhere near the truth,
no,
right?
no.
Like that's like this guy that I was listening to last night was a politician. You probably know who he is. He's an
Mm,
older guy. I say older, about my age. Hair color is the same,
yeah,
husky, and he was playing clips. He played a clip of the nurse in Adelaide, and he played another clip. I can't remember what it was, but so he had these government, from the government website, the government's official medical numbers, and they were
yeah,
appalling. They were
yeah,
appalling. You know, so from the nurse saying, uh, 30 out of 38 that are in the ICU that have COVID have a vaccine.
mm,
30 out of 38.
yeah,
And so then to then read this guy who's talking about 600 cases of this heart condition that's connected to the vaccine.
mm,
Uh, 40 on the last day of reporting, which was the 21st of October.
yeah,
Now, he was going off his nut, and he was saying, you know, almost like, there's an old statement that supposedly they heard Daddy Bush, the president, George
yeah,
Bush, uh, saying one time that, hey, if they ever find out what we did, they'll hang us. They'll hang us from the highest tree. So
mm,
is that kind of like, he wasn't like, he was just like, come on now,
mm,
this is so far out there. Like, I just don't see how it can be, the lid can be kept on it. And I'm not just talking about COVID. I'm talking about the whole kit and
mm,
caboodle. I don't see how it can be. In fact, I think that it can't be. And what this is part of the reason they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink out there now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't, and I mean, it doesn't fly with where I feel we're at. I know you touched on it with Alicia before, but I've also got this overwhelming feeling that of we've been doing all the Zoom groups and all this stuff, but there's something changing, and I feel like we're coming together physically. Like it's no longer, we're getting
Mm.
ready. It's imminent. Like it's almost here. And when I heard you say that today, I was like,
Do you
once
feel
again,
that
wow.
too? Do you
Yeah,
feel that?
really,
Yeah.
really strongly, to the extent where I'm exploring things I want to work on in order to facilitate that, which right now in this time and space would feel ludicrous
Yeah.
because they're not going to let it happen. But I feel like that's what we should be starting to move towards.
See, and here we go again. Are we feeling the alignment of what's occurring, which you
Mm,
might call short-term prophecy or something like that, or is this a signal we need to go do something? I
mm,
don't know. I tend to think maybe it's going to be both, but like you having that thought in your truck, and then me messaging you
mm.
2 minutes later, like maybe there's some kind of bridge between the subconscious. Maybe that the subconscious is becoming more conscious. I guess that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Because to me, that whole thing about, I know that's a very deep conversation regarding the subconscious, but that's like the Akashic,
Mm,
right? I mean, that's like everything's known there,
mm.
right? Like things we can't even, things we block out, things that, I mean, and how deep does it go? I don't know. But so there's something about when you had that thought and then it happened.
Mm,
Like, so that's why I was saying about like October, I felt like there was a massive, like never before, a massive acceleration of the timeline because one of the work we've done, and two, people, the collective energy of people is like, I'm tired.
mm.
Like something needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about light workers. I'm talking about the whole world.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
there's something about that, the will of the human, of the collective will of the human.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
don't think the collective will is, I don't think the majority of the collective will is anywhere near, let's just say anywhere near 50% of I want vengeance.
Mm,
I want these people brought down. I don't see that. I think this goes back to what you said about there's a whole giant majority out there presented as a minuscule minority, but in truly the vast majority that isn't described obviously by mainstream media or even the social media platform. It's it's
yeah.
this it's this other thing. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. 100%. Um, it's kind of good to have this conversation and nut out some of the things that
absolutely.
I hadn't sat down and really considered. But I do sit here in this conversation, and I'll tell you what, it is looking so positive.
I agree.
It really is. Like we have a lot to be very grateful for right now, and especially even here in Australia. Like it's not that bad, and even that coming together. I'm sitting there while you're talking, thinking, can we already do it? Are we waiting because we assume that it won't work? Like I say, when I've got people that I know who are crossing borders that allegedly are closed, are we just perpetuating the narrative by believing in it and not just going, let's go and organize something, let's do it?
Yeah. See, and I go back to Franco because I remember him saying one time, trying to in the conversation, trying to bring some clarity to those that play roles that are say opposing to us or that are evil or whatever. And he was saying these are your brother sister souls,
Yep.
and their job is to push you to see how far, how long, you know what I mean? To
Mm,
what point is it going to take you to just say enough?
mm,
So it's almost like a, to me, like a, what do they call it? I can't remember, but it's like a shaman, like a joker.
mm.
Like I'm going to see, like, somebody's pulls one over on you. I'm very gullible, so it happens to me. Morgan does it to me. Morgan does it to me all the time.
Yeah.
She'll get me, and so it's like we're just going to keep suggesting this and keep suggesting this and keep
Mm,
suggesting this, and it's kind of like you said, people are kind of abiding, but they're not buying it.
mm,
Well, nothing stays the same, so either
mm.
they're going to go all out and buy, everyone's going to buy into it, or it's going to go the other way, which
Yep.
which I think that's that's what's happening. Because
Mm,
I'm with you, I feel like regardless of all this, I'm like, wow.
Mm.
Wow. Like what's going to happen tomorrow? Like
Yeah.
what's going, I mean, this is like getting really wild. Cool.
Mm. Yeah, cool. I like that.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel the same. And actually something I'm gonna share too. When when Biden first got in, I decided to do an exercise, right? And they had the whole thing going on the screen. And I sat there watching it and I attempted to remove all of my biases. So look at it from a completely blank slate. And when I looked at Biden, whereas some people, see a lot of, I saw a lot of darkness around the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at Biden, I saw a scared child. I didn't see a monster. I didn't see a villain. I saw someone who was scared. And that's interesting. I probably should do more of that.
That sounds right.
Mm,
That feels right. Because if you look at, if I look at even your, when I've tuned into your, like I said, the health minister of South Australia or Dan Andrews, or
mm,
there's like Dan Andrews is a little bit different. Even Dan Andrews, though, I got to say, it's like an arrogance,
yeah.
but a futility, right?
Mm,
And I have seen like scared, um, kind of a scared frequency.
mm,
And yeah, that's one thing. And then the other thing I kind of see is like going through the motions. Well, we're just going through the motions, like a
mm,
play, like an actor or an
yeah.
actress. Because some of the stuff that comes out of there, you're just like going, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Mm.
Like it doesn't even make any sense. Yeah.
Well, don't forget they're caught up in the. So I actually had some time involved with politics in Australia.
Mm.
Um, I apologise to all my fellow countrymen for that, but I learnt valuable lessons in there and things like that. Um, and and they're caught in a system in themselves. And once you're in it, if you want to stay in it, you've kind of got to play the game.
Yeah.
Like for instance, by the time you get to be a prime minister or a premier or even any kind of office holder, you've compromised and almost sold out to the nth degree that you've got to toe the line on all these things. And I think particularly on this issue, um, I don't know that they actually know what the real public opinion is. And I think that like you get to a point with these things where you're in too deep to turn around and go, oh, you know what, we got all this wrong. We shouldn't have shut the country down for almost 2 years. They can't. It's literally political suicide, and this is their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really any different to we look at some of the things that police officers are enforcing and things like that, and people can sympathize with the side of them wanting to provide with their family. I guess it's similar in politics, and there's that whole dynamic. I mean, obviously, there's also the corruption of power and ego playing into it, but there is a significant amount of them that get caught in the system, and they're just part of that machine.
Yeah, I think it's most of them. I mean, because you can't get anything done. I mean, I can only speak for America, but I'm sure it's the same way over there. I mean, Ron Paul's a good example.
Yeah,
Uh, or even if you go back before that, Ross Perot in the 90s, he was
mm,
a third party candidate.
yeah,
Exit polling showed that he would have won the election if people thought if they voted for him, he would have won. So
wow,
they went in and changed everything and made it where you can't run as a third party, basically. You have to
mm,
have a billion signatures or something that's unachievable.
mm,
But yeah, I mean, but I think there's another thing that's happening too, that whatever's happening in one place is happening everywhere. So
mm,
in my life, in your life, those things that are not rooted, let's just say in Trinity energy, service to self, to
mm,
you, to the collective in equal stroke, all those things are being deconstructed. They're collapsing.
mm,
But that applies to everything and everyone, right? That includes Donald Trump. That includes Biden. That includes Dan Andrews. Everybody's feet is on the fire.
yeah,
And let's face it, the universal energy, you can call it, karma.
mm,
You can call it whatever you want to, but
yeah,
it's not. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody, nobody, especially this year, that isn't being held to the same litmus test.
Mm.
Like nobody gets a free pass. And so that's a pretty much of an equalizing
Mm.
axiom, that we all are subjected to. Period.
Mm.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And look, yeah, ultimately we just got to grapple too with the fact that like I think you touched on it. There's no wrong or right. There's
yeah,
no good or bad.
yeah,
It all just is. And looking at things completely objectively, I can see that like these guys, they're just playing their role in the play.
yeah. It's true.
So, but it's hard to be standing on the ground looking at it thinking like that.
Well, there's a guy. David Manning. David Manning. He lives in UK,
Mm.
and he comes on the show. In fact, we need to get him back on. He hasn't been on in about 2.5, 3 months, but he usually comes on like every 6 or 8 weeks. And he is a phenomenal person. He just absolutely. He had HIV in the 90s.
Mm.
Well, first of all, he was a child. He was abused. Then he had to come to grips with his sexuality. He's gay, and so all those things that brought on. Then he had cancer 2 times. Serious shit though.
Mm.
So his whole life has been about transformation in a very physical way, uh, and he's also very connected. And he was telling me one time how he had a very real past life memory where he lived on an island. He was a pedophile.
Mm.
He would steal children, take them back, and whatever. And that he was just talking about this scene about where he got caught, and all the natives came after him. But anyway, the point being, this was coming from a guy who'd been through a hell of a lot more than I ever been through, and in his understanding through his own communication with God or higher self or whatever, how he understood that perspective, that he understood that he was that as much as he was who he was today, right? So that type of truth coming out in
Mm.
people on an individual basis, we're talking like this stuff is happening every day.
Mm.
I mean, it really is. We're getting hit every single day in the human experience with epiphany after epiphany after epiphany. We don't even know what they are. They just come in and we get altered.
Mm.
So there is,
That's powerful though.
yeah.
What was his name? David
David
Manning?
David Manning, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and you just
Yeah.
search David Manning, I promise you, it doesn't even matter which one you go watch. We have a good rapport like you and I do, and
Yeah.
but he's just like it's phenomenal. I think the
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 were extremely phenomenal, and I believe the last one or the second to the last one, he talked about his own hero's journey in depth.
Wow.
So it would have been like July or August, but yeah, just I mean, I can't even imagine um, experiencing that type of thing.
No.
The
No.
type of thing that
And then talking
life
about it,
experiences had. Yeah, yeah,
and then communicating it because it's easy to have an experience that's really great and go, I'm from here, I was there, da 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 da. But to share something like that, I mean,
yeah, dude. He talked
that's
about his
important.
uncle. I think it was his uncle or somebody came in and
Mm.
I mean, this is mind blowing stuff.
Mm.
But again, it's seeing, and here is I haven't even thought of that until this conversation.
Mm.
See, that's what I get from these, especially these long play. Like there's something about the long play
Mm.
uh, that, and I'm talking about like this type of what they call a podcast or whatever. But there's just like there's something that happens when there becomes more and more of a comfortable atmosphere, that something just assists us or assists the people in opening up. And it's not even about what's being talked about. There's something about exposure to what I would just say is a truth frequency. So it's not really about what you're talking about. It's just the fact that you're opening up. You know, if you listen to a lot of these practitioners that have come on the show, they say they go into a session. The first thing they do is they open their field as wide as they can. And then they ask the client to do the same. And so the whole experience is really predicated or founded on that initial creation of a shared environment.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel like that's, you know, to your point earlier, that's why these types of formats are really gaining traction.
Yeah.
You know, they
But
really are.
you've had a few conversations lately where the real gold has come out towards the end.
Yeah.
And I think you've said to the guest, "Oh, we're going to have to get back on to chat about that."
That's
and I
right.
guess that's, like you say, that's that loosening, especially if you haven't done a lot of it before.
Yeah.
You know, and building rapport and things like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man. All right. God, it's good seeing you. I really enjoy talking to you.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I see you every day though, so it's different for me. Well, yeah, because
really?
you know, just about every day we tune in. So, you know, and then you've got whatever. I basically see, like right now, I'm an avatar for the collective having a conversation with, So
see, I feel the other way. I feel like I'm an avatar for the collective,
Yeah.
having a conversation with whoever comes on. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. There you go. We're both avatars.
All right, brother.
Thank you, Todd.
Best to you and your family until I see you again.
Likewise.
Maybe late next month or in January.
Mate, it'll happen when it's meant to happen. I'll send it out sometime.
Yeah, send it out.
I'll send a call.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll see you,
Beautiful.
man.